Guys, Bernadette here with Purpose in a Stitch, and today I'm going to be walking you through how to make the Petal Perfect Granny Square. We use this square throughout our Not Your Granny's tee, as well as for some pocket details on our In the Garden cardigan that's coming out later this month. So I hope you find this tutorial helpful in creating both of those patterns. To get started, we're going to grab our USH crochet hook, as well as some ZZ twist yarn by Lion Brand. I'm using multiple colors to make my granny square for this tutorial, but if you'd rather have your squares be one solid color, then you just won't switch colors as notated in the video. So we're going to start off with our center color, which is going to be purple for this video, and we're going to make a slip knot. From here we're going to grab our hook and we're going to chain 6. We'll actually be creating a circle by working a slip or stitch into the very first chain that we just created. So we're going to insert our hook here and we're going to pull through both loops that are on our hook, creating a slip stitch. From here we're going to be working into the very center of that circle by first chaining 1, and then we're going to work a series of 12 single crochets around the entirety of our circle. So this is going to set us up for that round circle right in this very center of our flower on this granny square pattern. Once we have all 12 single crochets throughout, I go ahead and pull that tail so you can close that center circle and get it nice and tight like so. And we're going to insert our hook into that very first single crochet, and we're going to slip stitch to close this ring. From here, we're going to start the process of adding the petals by chaining 2, and then in that very first single crochet that we just slip stitch into, we're going to work a double crochet. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip 1, and we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next single crochet stitch. This is going to create a V pattern, and then we'll chain 1 more, skip 1, and work 2 more double crochets in the next, and then we're going to just repeat this process throughout. And by the time we're done working this round on the granny square, we should have a total of 6 V's that we'll later be able to work our petals into. So once we come to the end here, go ahead and insert your hook into the top of that chain 2 and grab your second yarn if you're changing colors. We're going to pull that yarn through both loops on our hook, working a slip stitch, and we're going to chain 2 more. And then we're going to be working into that very first V that we created and work 5 double crochets. The 5 double crochets are going to be creating that petal look for our granny square. And I like to work these double crochets around the tails of the yarns. Right here you can see that I've got them right back there, and this just helps secure them in place. From here we're going to work a single crochet into that chain 1 space, and we're going to go on working 5 more double crochets into the very next V space. So I'm just going to work these 5 double crochets if I can get it. Here we go. And yeah, after each 5 double crochets we'll be following the pattern of working that single crochet into the next chain 1 space, and we'll repeat this process around the entirety of our circle, which will give us a 6-petaled flower at the very center. So I'm just going to trim my purple yarn here and get it out of our way, and we will go back and weave in all of those ends later when we go to finish this granny square. So from here I'm going to just speed things up a little bit to get us around the entirety of our round until we get to the very last petal. And once we get here, we're going to finish by working a single crochet into that last chain 1 space, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first chain 2 that we created at the beginning of this round. So right here we're going to just insert our hook and work a slip stitch, and we're actually going to slip stitch 2 more, which will get us to that very center double crochet of this first petal. And if you're changing yarn colors, you're going to grab your 3rd color yarn right now, and we're going to pick that yarn up to complete this slip stitch, and we're going to chain 7. This new color change will not be able to work the tails in as we did for the last color change, so we're actually going to trim our 2nd color yarn right now, and we're going to secure the 2 colors just by working a simple double knot in the back here. And this will just help keep our new color tied in place. Obviously, if you're not changing colors, you can skip that step. From here, we're going to be skipping 5 single crochets, and we're going to be working a single crochet into the very next stitch, and we will chain 7 more. And we're going to again skip 5 and work a single crochet. Each of our single crochets should end up to be right at the very top or that very center double crochet from our petals. And we'll repeat this process all the way around until we get to the 2nd slip stitch that we had created at the beginning of this round. So right next to where we made that color change, we're going to work a slip stitch, and that completes this round. From here we're going to be chaining 3, and I think I've got 5 here, so I'm going to just take out 2 of those chains. And so once we've got our chain 3, we're going to be counting 3 chains, and then in that very next chain, so the 4th chain from the start, we're going to be working a single crochet stitch. We'll chain 3 more and skip 3, and then again in the 4th chain from here we're going to work another single crochet stitch, chain 3, and then repeat that process all the way around. Every other single crochet that we're placing should be worked into the single crochet of the previous round. And this will just set us up to add that final detail of the edging for our Petal Perfect Granny Square. So from here, I'm just going to speed things up a little bit to get us all the way around. And then once we come to the very end, we're going to be chaining 3 and then working in again into that very first slip stitch that we had created. And we're going to work a single crochet. So that completes that round. From here you can hop on over to our video tutorial for the join as you go method if you're going to be adding multiple squares together as in our Not Your Granny's Tee. Otherwise I'll show you how to add the corners on right now to finish the Petal Perfect Granny Square. So we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to be working 5 double crochets into this first chain 3 space. And then after we get 5 double crochets worked, we're going to be chaining 4 and working 5 more double crochets into the same chain 3 space. So here's our chain 4 followed by 5 more double crochets worked into this same space. And then from here we'll just continue working around by chaining 2 after we get the last 5 double crochets worked, and we're going to single crochet into the next single crochet. So we're going to skip those 3 and then single crochet, and we're going to skip 3 more, chain 2, and work a single crochet into the next. And this gets us to our next corner where we will work 5 more double crochets into this chain 3 space, followed by another chain 4 and another 5 double crochets. And we'll repeat this process until we get all the way around. Again, if you want to reference our video for the join as you go method, that'll make joining a bunch of granny squares together for a panel significantly easier and go by a lot faster than if you were to join a bunch of granny squares together later on. So once we get to our last square, you should have 4 corners total for your granny square. We're going to chain 2 more, and then in the very first chain 2 that we had created for this round, at the base of it, we're going to be working a single crochet to close our Petal Perfect Granny Square. From here, it's a simple matter of trimming our yarn so that way we can fasten off, and that completes our Petal Perfect Granny Square. You can use these granny squares for coasters like I do around my house, or as I mentioned at the start of this video, we also have them as details in a couple of our patterns, including our Not Your Granny's tee, as well as our upcoming In the Garden cardigan where it's featured as a pocket detail. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, I hope you'll leave us a positive review. Happy crocheting!